Hello, everybody. Happy New Year. Welcome to Roundtable, coming to you live from Beijing. I'm He Yang, joined by Lai Ming and Huang Shen. Did you guys stay up late last year?
No.
No?
No.
Not really.
Okay, I guess I'm the only one then.
Yeah, you're the only one.
I stood up till the final midnight bell when, officially we've marched into 2021. And I still stuck around a little bit longer.
For about 2 hours?
Yeah, I guess so. I wonder, how did you find that out, Lai Ming? Well, yeah, we had a discussion right before the show. And it was not easy getting out of bed this morning. But I'm super excited to do this first show of 2021 with you guys. And today, not that many people are in the office, but the Roundtable team is here with you and keeping you company. And we're really happy to celebrate the first day of a brand new year with you and bring you all these fascinating topics as we do on every weekday. Good as always to have you join us on today's program. For many, 2020 has been a year which makes getting a fresh start in 2021 feel very appealing. The turn of the calendar brings both the opportunity to reflect on the last 12 months and the chance to begin planning for the next dozen. We take a look back at the most memorable events of 2020 in China and discuss tactics of sticking with New Year's resolutions. You can find us on Apple Podcast at Roundtable China. If you like us, leave us a 5-star review. If not, well, there is no condition clause like that on today's show, in my opinion. So anyhow, subscribe, rate, review us, do whatever you like, and I hope you have a beautiful time with us today. But first, on today's Roundtable, as we round out this historically challenging year of 2020, it feels important to take a moment to review and reflect. What are the most memorable moments or events in 2020? Lai Ming, take it away first.
I guess we when we look back to 2020, we can't avoid bringing up the year-old topic, and that's COVID-19. And I think all of us have felt deeply affected by the global pandemic. And the Oxford English Dictionary have documented many coronavirus-related linguistic shifts, and some of the observations are surprising, but they claim, for example, that the pandemic has produced only one truly new word, the acronym COVID-19, whereas most of the other coronavirus-related changes that have come into their attention have somehow been used previously, like social distancing or reproduction number. So COVID-19 is forever going to leave a mark in our memory and also in the history of mankind.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Huang Shen?
Well, back in 2020, we couldn't ignore the existence of COVID-19. Everything was about this pandemic, and its influence has been on all walks of life and all aspects of life. I remember last year, during the Chinese Spring New Year, and we experienced the outbreak of the pandemic. And after we came back to Beijing, me and my husband, wow, I remember the streets were empty and there was no one walking on the streets at all. And for like several months, at least 1 or 2 months, we were so anxious and we were panicking about everything the uncertainties brought by this pandemic. But definitely now here we are. We weathered through this pandemic, but still there are some new cases in the country and many new cases across the world. So we still need to be prepared and don't let our guard down. But definitely, I think COVID-19 is the key word of 2020.
Right, and especially when the three of us on Roundtable are gathered in the studio doing this live show. And this really reminds us, I mean, He Yang, you and I, we spent some time just talking to each other on Roundtable. for a period of a few months, I guess.
Yeah, for about 3 months, I think. Roundtable only had 2 people in the studio speaking, and we have our amazing program editor with us controlling the panel, pushing the buttons, and we basically just try to limit the number of people being gathered in a closed environment. In case you're wondering, radio studios are like well-sealed tin boxes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not the kind of place that I think perfect ventilation really happens all the time. So, yeah, under these conditions, then of course, to protect our colleagues, ourselves, and to keep the show running, we had to limit the number of people
Yeah.
congregated in such a small place.
And you must have a very fond memory of traveling to the studio that's west of the city. What is it, 18 kilometers away from your home?
Liming is like a. Do you have like the CCTV camera in my home or whatnot? How do you know everything? All
You
these
gotta
things.
track her.
Yes, he does. I wouldn't say fond memory, but it was definitely, I think, one trip I will remember for a very long time. It was the day after the Spring Festival break of 2020, and I got the news that we still have a live show on the next day, and the live program of Roundtable resumes, basically. So, well, at the time, there was just still so much unknown. And yes, that drive from home to our studio was one of a lot of mixed emotions in my head, because I am just human, just like anybody else. On the show, we try to offer comfort, we try to offer information, calmness, and whatever we think is necessary that has to be done is needed for our listeners. We try to serve our best. But when I was driving to work, yeah, it was not easy. It was almost like what I had so many queries in my head. The top one being, of course, you need to do your job. That's professionalism, and I'm all up for that. But, would I be bringing anything I don't want home when I have parents with pre-existing conditions and who are elderly? Then what does that mean for my family? And I think those are things anybody who had to work outside, who had to get out of the house, would think about anywhere in China or around the world, who have to go out of the house and do their job when you have a global pandemic, when at the time you don't know very much about. So it's a long way since we have been from then to now.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think this has really been a year that tests our mental and tests who we truly are as people, and our character, our courage, our resistance and resilience, and all
Yeah.
that. So we managed to go through all that intact, although along the way there are losses, there are gains, there are a lot of highs and lows, ups and downs. But what really matters is that we are still here together, and things are looking up, and that is something previously in a normal day like you just take for granted, but now everything almost has a new meaning in that sense. So yeah, I digress. Sorry, but that was just, the revelation that I have to share with you when we talk about COVID-19 and the year of 2020.
Exactly. My memory was also about traveling to work. I think it was one time after a very heavy snow in the city of Beijing, and we were still carrying on with this quarantine and social distancing rules, and therefore there was very little people in the street. And so, when in normal times, when it snows in big cities, I mean, arrangements will have been made to make sure that the roads are safe, that the snows are disposed of. the snow is disposed of. And so, but that time on that specific day, the snow was all over the place, and I was trembling in the cold in the car because it was really cold. As I trembled there, I was listening to the sound of the wheels crushing on the thick snow, and I just taught myself that I'm gonna remember this. And yes, I end up remembering this, and has become my most impressionable memory about the year 2020. And it goes to say that COVID-19 has obviously brought so much disruption to our lives that everything we take for granted, like on a snowy day, then the snow will be handled. But this is not happening. The disruption to our lives is so huge that when we look at what the lives that we have now, that we have come back, that is really something. There's huge contrast. That's really, really impressive here.
Yeah, it really changes your state of mind.
Yeah.
For months, I think up until, if we're still looking at 2020, for the first quarter, it was really anxious for a lot of us here in China, but as things gradually got into control, especially as the weather started to get warmer and there seemed to be just hope in the air, and then things were pretty well for a little while as we had our colleagues come back to the studio, and things sort of have gotten back to some level of normalcy, and then we saw a relapse temporarily in June in Beijing. So again, and I think people just get used to also, this emergency strategy in handling the situation. And then it's, again, like people, unless totally necessary, then don't come to the office, work from afar,
Right.
and then keep the show running, keep business running. And then I think just everybody in society was sort of back to the work remote mode kind of thing. And then after a month's time, things kind of got better again. And then we're just really, sort of adjusting our lives, our work, the way we handle things according to the situation we're in. And then for 152 beautiful days of zero domestic transmitted cases, we saw small numbers of flare-ups here and there in
Right.
China again. And now I guess our mental state of mind has switched to, I guess, COVID mode or something like that. It's like we just go with it. We know how to live with this thing now. And I understand that for the local governments and also national government, I think there's some experience that's accumulated to act swiftly and effectively. And for the civilians and individuals, us everyday people, we adjust accordingly and do whatever is the best for ourselves as well as the greater good. It seems like when it comes to the coronavirus, when it comes to global pandemic, keeping yourself safe, your loved ones safe, is doing contribution for society.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And to think that after so much disruption to the economy and to our lives, and we still managed to achieve something in the year 2020, and that's even all the more impressive. And I'm talking about the poverty alleviation project that has been going on for the past couple of years, about 7 to 8 years. And we initially made a plan to sort of overcome or eradicate absolute poverty by the year 2020. And we're just happy to see that by the end of the year, and we are able to reach that goal. And last night at the New Year's speech given by President Xi Jinping, he said he actually reiterated the fact that all 832 registered poor counties in China have shaken off poverty.
And that's definitely a very big deal in the country. And I'd just like to consult with you, Huang Shen, about a little bit more explanation of what absolute poverty stands for, and the fact that it is eradicated. Then What does that all entail?
So, in terms of the definition of the poverty threshold, the poverty limit or poverty line is the minimum level of income deemed adequate in a particular country. In practice, like the definition of poverty, the official or common understanding of the poverty line is significantly higher in developed countries than in developing countries. And as you know, we are still a developing country. So the common international poverty line has in the past been roughly $1 a day. In 2008, the World Bank came out with a figure of 1.25 US dollars per day at 2005 purchasing power parity. In October 2015, the China World Bank updated the international poverty line to 1.9 US dollars a day. So in China, our poverty line set the minimum level of yearly income at 200 yuan as its poverty line back in 1985. And the figure increased to 1,196 yuan per year in 2009. While during the period, China's GDP increased, right, from 778 billion yuan to 33 trillion yuan. And according to the Central Poverty Alleviation and Development Conference held in November 2011, the central government decided to set the average net income of 2,300 yuan per year as the new national standard for poverty alleviation.
So that's just above 300 US dollars. Per year, and that is the goal that has been achieved in 2020. And over the past 40 plus years of reform and opening up in China, more than 700 million people in this country have been lifted out of poverty, contributing to more than 70% of the global poverty reduction rate. So what we're seeing here is really improving by a massive scale and level of living standards for so many people and families. And that is truly something to be seen as an achievement, I guess, on paper. But for people living in this country, this is solid improvement that we feel in our lives.
Yeah.
And that is something to be spoken of. And according to UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, he said that these achievements are very strong, and with the elimination of absolute poverty in 2020, China would have achieved the poverty reduction target of the UN 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development 10 years ahead of schedule. And that is something to be highlighted here as well.
Yeah, exactly. And when we talk about poverty alleviation, obviously these figures are very impressive. I mean, being able to sort of lift that amount of people out of poverty is very, very impressive. But at the end of the day, we want to know exactly what kind of changes that we are bringing to individuals. And I think Huang Xian last year had an opportunity to travel to the very grassroots of China to see what really is happening to people's lives.
Yeah, before I only heard of these figures, to be fair, and these figures sound very ambiguous and vague to me. I didn't have a really vivid interpretation of what does the figure means. But when I visited a mountainous village in Jianchuan County of Dali Prefecture in Yunnan Province, I could see the improvement, because before I visited a village, I had lots of concerns, and I was worried about the toilets and the sanitation and all kind of things. I was shocked when I was in that a mountainous village. That was very clean, and people were so happy out there, and they were just trying to figure out what is their strengths, and they were trying to use agriculture and also some the local special techniques to trying to get people out of the poverty. And I could see people really give priority to education in that region. They believe only by learning knowledge and broaden their horizons, the next generation can have a chance to go outside of this mountainous area and trying to see the bigger world. And the other thing that surprised me was how they value grain development. they're not saying we need to have see the figures growth of the economic development and by sacrificing the environment, by doing some pollutive actions to gain this economic benefits. But for them, they're just trying to make the development as a long-term one and more sustainable. So you can see they have really good environment conditions, and at the same time, they're also trying to connect to the internet. They want to promote their local produce through the e-commerce channels. So I'm seeing they are catching up with the development, the technology, and all kinds of advancements in bigger cities. And there are also people there are enjoying their own life.
That is really something. I mean, likewise, I had a chance to travel to the very grassroots of China as well, and my trip took me to a small place in Inner Mongolia Autonomous Region, and I believe what I took away from this trip is that I get to know that poverty sometimes isn't just a state of living. Sometimes it is also a state of mind. And one of the places that I went to is a sort of a homestay business, a small hotel that was in a small village in the Mongolia Autonomous Region, and they had been there for a few years. And at the very beginning, they had this idea of sourcing raw produce from the local farmers, and they hit some difficulties in convincing the farmers to put in just a little extra work to select the better potatoes for them. And the hotel was willing to pay extra money for that service, but the farmers, the local villagers, weren't ready to. They couldn't understand why would I bother to go through all these potatoes, because you're going to buy them anyway. And so it was over time that the villagers really grow accustomed to the idea. And so what I'm saying now is sometimes our people are not ready, or they haven't seen enough about the world or enough of the opportunities to want to change. And some of the efforts that we've done to lift people out of poverty is to shed the light on their way of thinking, to let them see the opportunities, to let them want to change. And as a result, I think what coincides with Huang Shan's observation is that I'm happy to see that people have really changed their state of mind to really want to improve their lives.
Yeah, that's really a brilliant account that comes from both of you. And I admire that you guys go out of the studio and go to different parts of our country to see for your very own eyes what happens in villages and counties. And I enjoy very much what you share with us, as I have been in the studio in Beijing and deprived of that chance. But I think it's really important also for journalists and radio broadcasters to sort of go see and also understand, I think.
I hope this year we as a group can have more chances to explore every corner of the country.
I hope our boss is listening to this show. I mean, we are making our New Year resolution or our wishes for the new year. Maybe in the year 2021, every one of us get the opportunity to see the real world and to understand how it works and to really bring more to the table, this round table.
Yes, and we do have some exciting proposals this year, and hopefully we can make them come true. I'm not making exact promises yet, but we are trying some new things and try to spice things up on Roundtable, as we always do so. And also,
we want your involvement in the show as well. I mean, there's a heart-to-heart segment, right?
Yes, and many ways to get in contact with us include, sending us a voice question. There's got to be something that you're searching for an answer, but don't manage to get it now, then we would love to help you out and do the heavy lifting for you. So please send that voice question to ezfmroundtable@foxmail.com. We'll give you that reply on the live show, or just email us to the same exact address. We'll be back after this break with more Roundtable discussion.
Informed opinion and heated debate. Find out what's got China talking and join us for your roundtable discussion.
You're listening to Roundtable with myself, He Yang, joined by Lai Ming and Huang Shen. Coming up, with the dawn of a new year, many set New Year's resolutions. You probably know how difficult it is, though, to stick with it. So, what's the plan to up the chances of achieving these New Year's resolutions? We'll get into it. And we'll talk about holiday safety tips for virus prevention. Well, I bet some of you might be on the road, maybe just taking a short trip or whatnot, or maybe just staying at home. That just sounds like
Safe.
Cozy.
Yeah. Home sweet home. Can't be better a place to be right now. You can find us on Apple Podcast at Roundtable China.
We are actually everywhere. We are on Stitcher, we are on Google Podcast, we are everywhere.
And you would just look up Roundtable
Yeah.
China.
Yeah.
And then we pop up. All of the previous shows living on these platforms. Technically, I don't know how that works, but yeah, that's
You
just
don't have
beyond me. But that's fine. I'm just a happy user of all these platforms. So please check us out. Leave us a message. Let us know what you think of the show. Give us a 5-star review if you're so inclined. And also another way to get in contact with us is to send us a voice memo or a voice question to ezfmroundtable@foxmail.com. We definitely check the email and we write back to you. If you don't believe us, then send us a voice question or email and test it, okay?
That's a very good strategy.
Thank you. I have these just moments. I'm like, that sounds like a pretty good trick. Yeah, play with us if you may. And now our roundtable as we continue our discussion. At the start of the year, we like to take stock of our lives and set resolutions for what we like to achieve in the new year. If we may get a little bit personal, are you pretty good at achieving your goals, these New Year's resolutions, or rarely do you manage to stick to it? Guys.
This is a very good question. I don't remember ever, writing a New Year's resolution for myself.
So you don't even play the game?
But when it comes to making plans in general, I think at one point in my life I do make plans. About how to arrange my time when I was in high school, or when to start a family, or when to get a baby, or that sort of thing.
So you make plans of these things.
Sometimes,
like Lai Ming's 5-year plan, just like the economy.
but nothing specific.
Okay.
Just making sure that I'm going in the right direction.
Right.
Because I tried a very specific way, like in high school, because there's the pressure of the college entrance examination. You want to make sure you're not wasting time.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it was the beginning of the last year in high school. I think, there's very little time left. I got to make sure that I'm using them very well. So I had this very detailed plan of what to do at what point in the day. I think I was able to stick to it for about a week, and then I dropped the whole thing.
And then you still got a pretty amazing score.
Well, that's not the message I'm trying to send. I think you're, yeah.
You need another person to point it out
Thank you.
for you.
But
Yeah.
anyway, the point I'm trying to make right now is that I don't think making very, very specific plan works for me.
Does it work or doesn't?
No, I don't
Oh,
think
it-
it works.
Really?
What about you guys?
Huang Shen, what do you think?
Well, I'm a very bad planner, and I'm a pretty serious procrastinator. And
Oh.
every year I kind of make up my New Year's resolutions, but well, I couldn't achieve any of the goals I set in the beginning of the year. But ironically, just in 2020, I kind of achieved some of my goals I set in the beginning of the year.
Oh, that being
Like exercise more.
okay.
I don't know, is it because the coronavirus and you have more free time at your hand and you do want to like take part in some activities that can make you feel like you're productive and you are active and also creative, then when I finally found my type of sports and or exercise, I kind of just stick to it. Yeah, and I keep like I was obsessed with it, and then I enjoy going to the gym multiple times in a week. And then after the exercise, after the working out, you just feels like so good. You feel like you can definitely get that sense of a fulfillment. Well, but ironically, I achieved that in 2020. Well, it's always good to learn something new. I think that's also the exercise I pick up. It's something new for me, and before I never imagined I will fall in love with this sport. So, well, that's my New Year's resolutions for last year, but this year I need to think about it a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, that's very, very impressive. I'm very happy for you because being able to carry on with your exercise routine, that's tough. I mean, I haven't been able to regularly exercise ever since the birth of my child. I mean, that was the year 2019. So, the vicious cycle. I mean, you feel tired, you don't want to move, and you don't want to move, you're more easily to feel tired. I mean, because I feel like your body is a battery. You have to constantly charge it, and one way to charge it is to make sure that you do the physical exercise. So you need definitely the strong determination to break with the old habit or the old cycle and to really start doing it. And I'm just happy to share that over the past 2 weeks, I have been somewhat able to start a new routine, and I'm able to spend about 40 minutes on a spinning machine.
Great.
Yeah, and I hope I can stick to it. I mean, I know at the very beginning you might feel it's so hard. I mean, the kind of frustration that I used to be able to do this. Now I can't even do that. It's like I used to be able to do 100 sit-ups. Now I can't even do 20. I mean, the sense of frustration is overwhelming.
Yeah.
But you gotta believe in yourself that one day you will be there, and one day you will be even better than you once was. So you gotta have that determination and that confidence.
Yeah. Liming, I know you've been really busy with work and also being a dad. And just according to other parents out there whose kids are older, I guess.
It gets better, right?
Yeah, that's what I heard. So there's hope for you. See,
Thank you.
things are already looking up for you in the new
What about you and your New Year resolutions?
I don't
Do you
do
have
that
any?
stuff. Just don't do it.
What about planning in general?
Not a big planner either. Like I used to sort of want to get on the bandwagon because apparently that's just what everybody is talking about at the beginning of the new year. But I also want to just pose one question. That is, I don't remember growing up in China having frequented this concept of New Year's resolutions. Like, we have New Year's wishes, I guess. Like, oh, I wish this year, everybody in the family is healthy. I can do well at work, and I hope, people around me are happy. Or, that's just one example of wishes, but not New Year's resolutions per se. Do you find that maybe there is a little bit of a cultural difference here or whatnot?
I get your point. I mean, specifically on January the 1st every year, I don't think that's the traditional New Year for us. Because here in China, when we talk about the New Year, it's the New Year on the lunar calendar. I mean, that's usually January something or February something, usually February, but sometimes it's also March, but on rare occasions. So we follow a different calendar, I mean, suffice to say. So I think on our New Year, according to the lunar calendar, we make good wishes. Like, I don't know about you guys. I think in the village where I lived, my dad always made a point of bringing me door to door to visit our neighbors and wish them good luck, and they'll do the same. And so it's like every morning on the first day of the new year we do this, and we come across people in the street and we greet each other and wish them good luck and good fortune and good health. So I guess that's some kind of wish, although I'm aware that New Year resolution is more of a doing it, planning it for yourself, kind of thing.
And also, we did a little bit of research on the subject, and apparently for Americans, for the year 2020, there's like a ranking of what most New Year resolutions people pick for themselves, and apparently eating healthier is number one.
Wow.
Over 40% of people surveyed chose that one. And then exercise more comes second place. Then save money or spend less. And fourth in the list is learn something new. And fifth is quit smoking.
Very, very interesting. So far, I know there's more, but so far I only see quit smoking being the only specific goal that people are setting for themselves. Otherwise, I'm not sure whether whatever you're reading from is doing a little bit of a generalization, or people are actually making very detailed plans about exercising more, for instance. Are they making plans as to whether they are doing exercise twice a week or 3 times a week, that kind of thing, or they're just making very general resolutions like, I'm going to exercise more, because I feel like more general New Year resolutions will be easier to carry out and execute rather than very specific new resolutions like saving money and spending less. Like, are people actually setting a goal of saving, for instance, $500 a month?
Good point.
You know, or are they just saying, I'm going to try and save some money? Because in my case, like I think I said at the very beginning, it's really difficult to set some very specific goals and really to execute them to perfection. But I'm not sure about other people, of course.
What do you think?
I need detailed plans.
Yeah, me too. Concrete goals.
Otherwise, it will just stay there as a plan. I won't give any actions to implement it.
Okay.
So for me, I feel like these New Year's resolutions are universal. If you ask Chinese people, what are your New Year's resolutions? I'm pretty sure the top 3 or top 5 would be some of these items, like eat healthier or exercise more or maybe making more money. That's my guess. And for me, I have to have a very detailed plan. Otherwise, I could not fulfill it. Take, exercise more as an example. I will give myself a schedule, like how many times I need to head to the gym and what kind of exercise I want to do. Now my thing is yoga. And then what kind of improvement do you want to achieve in the next year? For me, I want to, advance my yoga poses from the grounding poses to dynamic ones. So that's my specific plan. But in the meantime, you have to be patient, because sometimes people are in a rush to achieve their goal, but they forget that you have to do it step by step, and you need to give yourself a little bit time to achieve it. So once they encounter a failure, they probably just give up the whole plan.
Like if I come out and say, I want to lose 10 pounds in 3 months, and if I can't reach that goal, I might feel frustrated. I mean, what's the point? I'll never reach that goal. I just drop it. So make realistic goals and goals that you can break down a bit. Like Huang Shan is doing, maybe you have a roadmap of when to do what, when to switch from ground-based yoga to dynamic yoga?
Grounding, yeah. Grounding to dynamic.
Okay.
That may take 2 years
Wow.
to achieve.
Okay, I didn't know it's so hard, but yeah, I guess, any sport, any new hobby or skill one would want to take up, I mean, it could be an entirely its own form of art for you to explore. And I think it's fun to try to do that. And when it comes to what you guys mentioned earlier about, or I mentioned earlier, of saving money or spending less or just getting on top of your finances, I think that's something any adult should try to do. And the key to saving money, in my opinion, and according to my own experience, is you take a chunk of your revenue out. Put it in the savings account the minute you get that every month. Don't just wait, spend on stuff and pay rent, utilities, whatever, and until the end of the month you say, I'm going to save up. Because usually, or it's just really easy to fall into that trap of at the end of the month, you're like, hey, I don't have anything left. So it's about setting your goal, being practical as well, and sometimes maybe a little stingy on yourself and the budgeting, but getting that goal set for the beginning of the month when you get your money. And that might help. And I think if 2020 has told us anything, it is, I think we need to be smarter with our money when an emergency hits. It's best to have something to rely on than, be a 月光族, somebody who's living from paycheck to paycheck, which is the lifestyle of a lot of young people. And of course, there's the counter argument of everything's so expensive, it's difficult enough to stay afloat and all that. And I respect that. But if we want to be realistic and healthy about our finances, maybe there's something we can do about it. Savings is one part of it, and also exploring new opportunities to see if we can bring in a little bit more revenue is, of course, another thing. And another fact, actually, I would like to share with you guys, not to put a downer on everything, that is, apparently, in February is the time that already a lot of people would have abandoned their New Year's resolutions. Unfortunately, but that happens every year. And apparently some gym trainers have shared this observation. This is according to Fox News, actually, so coming from the U.S., that by the later part of January, already you're seeing less people. So the repeated guests and patrons to a gym. Any advice to get people to maybe stick around a little bit longer for the goals that they aim to achieve for the year?
Specifically regarding going to the gym, I have no advice because really anything could get in the way. And maybe the gym being too far away, you have a sudden change in your own schedule, that sort of thing. I don't know. But I think in general terms, if you want to stick to a goal, I think like I said earlier, you want to make sure it is attainable at the very beginning of it when you're trying to make a plan. And then breaking it down really helps. And at the end of the day, you want to make sure that there are no more obstacles in front of you. I always say that you have to acknowledge that some things are difficult. Like, for instance, studying in your spare time. I'm sure that there are a lot of bookworms out there and people who are crazy about learning and studying. But that doesn't change the fact that studying is an extra effort. You have to really activate your mind, to put your mind to it. So start with acknowledging that this is tough work. And so, and then, in order to make sure that you can wholeheartedly engage, make sure you have other obstacles eliminated. For instance, if there's a change of plan or change of schedule, make allowance to accommodate your own New Year resolution of going to the gym, or simply look for a place to live that's closer to a gym. When you're making plans about going to the gym regularly, make sure you're not picking a gym that's across town.
I've fallen for that too. So definitely, it's sort of shooting yourself in the foot in achieving your New Year's resolution. So very good tip right over there. Huangshen, you have something to share?
Yes, I think in terms of a gym, you have to find a gym basically within 15 minutes of walk away from your apartment. That's the best way to keep you always get motivated to visit your gym. And in terms of how to achieve your plans, I think if you keep failing your plans, you have to take some time to reflect on your previous failures. What factors stop you from achieving your own goals
Yeah.
or the New Year's resolutions? So probably you have just burned yourself out in the first 2 weeks. You just turn it into a very short-term motivation, but maybe you should gradually develop into a long-term project. Just spread your energy and your efforts a little bit more. In this way, you can make it a more long-term goal, and definitely you have to make it practical.
Yeah.
Don't set up a very far-fetched goal. No one could achieve. No one can achieve it. Just be specific, be detailed, and also be practical. In this way, yeah, just work on this project, work on this plan step by step. You'll definitely achieve something, or you definitely reach there.
I think the new year is a good start, although personally, I believe that you don't have to wait until the next year or January the 1st or maybe January the 4th for a lot of people, because that's the first Monday of the year to start changing your diet, to start doing this or that.
Right.
Start it now. If it's something
Or
that you
anytime.
yeah, if you see that this is something you want to do, and of course, I think there's a lot of the inside job that needs to be done in your head in searching for the true intent and reason why you want to do this. And if you got that nailed down, do it now. And I'll borrow the slogan from Nike, just do it today, okay?
Yeah, any day is a day to make a change in your life. And even if you fail at your New Year resolution by February, I mean,
You still have next year.
You can always get a reboot, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
In
I was just
February.
messing around. You still have
Chinese New Year.
oh yeah, there's that.
Yeah.
And that's usually when we eat way too much and wait until the holiday after that to start to
Yeah.
get back on track on a healthy diet, and that's not something I want to do this year actually, but we'll see. We'll see. And I'll give you a full report when we get to that part of the year. I promise. Not like
Okay.
you really want to hear it. But if you don't, and if you do, let us know. Please. Email us or send a voice memo to ezfmroundtable@foxmail.com. Coming up next, we'll talk about holiday safety tips for virus prevention. Stick around, everybody.
Looking for passion? How about fiery debate? Want to hear about current events in China from different perspectives? Then tune in to Roundtable, where East meets West and understanding is the goal.
It's the hour of Roundtable with myself, He Yang, Lai Ming, and Huang Shen in the studio. This New Year's holiday falls between January the 1st and 3rd, staying safe amid COVID-19, whether at home or during travel, is everyone's top concern. To help you protect yourself during the holiday, here are some information and tips about everything from vaccination and travel safety to the mutated strain of the virus. And that's definitely something that we've heard from different parts of the world recently. So first of all, vaccination. Let's talk about, I guess, what the overall situation is regarding this, buzzword, vaccination.
I think a lot of Western countries, they've started administering vaccines to the citizens, UK being the first, and now I think in the US, I mean, that work has started. Here in China, announcement has been made that citizens can get free shots of the vaccine, but as to when and where you can get that shot, and whether you belong to the group of people, the first group of people who want to get yourself inoculated, that's up for discussion. Or, of course, there are some notes about whether you should get it immediately or not. Like, for instance, if you're a medical worker or you're an aviation staff. I know in my hometown, my former classmates in high school, they work in hospitals and they're getting free shots of the vaccine right now. And so it really depends on whether you're likely to be exposed to the virus or not. And so, yeah, that's that.
Mm-hmm. And also, I think it depends on the situation in your town, county, province, or country. In China, we haven't really seen in well, for more than half a year, I would say, that this kind of widespread situation of COVID-19. And I think, people can decide for themselves what they want to do with the vaccination as such.
Yeah, who gets to get the shot is really a tricky question in China and in the US, in the UK, all the same. Because in the UK and in the US, I think the Pfizer vaccine has an issue of transportation and logistics, so
Yes.
you can't really get it in bulk.
Minus
So you gotta make
72
sure,
degrees.
you gotta make sure that those who need it desperately get the shot first. And here in China, I think the most immediately available vaccine is something of an inactivated vaccine, and therefore, if I remember it correctly, this kind of vaccine is really difficult to make. I mean, in the sense that it takes a long time. So I guess
Yeah.
there's also the issue of supply. So make sure you're the right person, or you're in the you're not blocking others' opportunities. That's what I'm trying to say.
Right. And
Yeah.
also, what about travel? When some people hit the road during this short national holiday, are there things to keep in mind?
Well, still, don't let your guard down. You definitely need to wear a mask and along the journey. And if you already feel some ailments in your physical condition, you just please just stay at home. Don't just go outside and hit the road, and you may have the chance to spread what kind of virus to other people. And definitely bring hand sanitizers and always wash your hands. And when you sneeze and when you cough, just use a cloth or use your mask to cover your mouth. So these are the important things. But now we are still encouraging social distancing. That's very important. If you are traveling to another city already, and please don't have a big gathering with your friends or families. Well, just keep it in the minimum number of people in one enclosed space. So we still need to be cautious about this virus, but even the medical experts, they warn winter is the season that we have seen another, like, maybe more new cases of the coronavirus.
We haven't seen
Yes.
any reports about the mutated virus here in China, but in the US, I think yesterday we seen reports about a mutated case in Colorado and maybe some other place. So be careful, because it's supposed to be more infectious. You got to watch out for that.
Yes, and there's still so much that is unknown about how this virus mutates and develops. But what we can all do is wear the face mask, be careful, and think thoroughly before you conduct any plans of gathering or travel. And everybody stay well, stay safe.
Happy New
That's
Year.
all we wish
Happy
for.
New Year.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's it for today's roundtable. Have a beautiful day. We will see you